certainly, isn't it?
Only Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. I think it rains those days too, seems like.
I tell all the guys that go home during the week and rain, expect to keep Saturday open.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Candace is here again.
Okay.
How did we do
Oh,
November?
okay, that one, they did verify that?
Just a moment ago.
Okay,
Just four of us?
You gonna do the application?
that one is the, due to,
There's only 4 of us.
Okay.
notice deficiency, the sign wasn't
Jeff,
correct.
you done all right?
Hanging in there.
Staying busy?
Figure out if it could be.
No, it's
Good to have it be
to October.
Jeff over there, well, the one in between Jeff and Joe's, make sure you're, I don't know if you want that other one on your screen, whichever one you like to talk into. Why don't you go stereo?
The new November date.
That was Karen who requested that, so we
That's
got
a holiday.
audio.
You gotta have a green button, right?
November 19th is one big day. It's the 12th holiday. And that's our scheduled date.
Do we wanna just, I think you should just come in to the guy, I think he's here, he hadn't talked. Mickey was on his way, he should be here, should be here.
Well, it would have to continue to at least the 12th.
Right. We could always do another continue.
I guess it's time, isn't it?
We did it too long.
You ready? You ready?
Let's see if we can-
I stopped off with some coffee. You ready? Charlie? This time, we will call the September 27, 2018 Walton County Zoning Board Adjustment meeting to order. If you would stand as we have our invocation followed by the pledge of allegiance, please. Charlie, if you would do the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, please be with us tonight as we try to go over our issues with our county, and please help us to make the best judgments here tonight that we can for our county and for our citizens. Amen.
I was following you there and I got lost, Jeff. Do appreciate the board members that's here tonight. We have 4 out of 7. There's 2 board members that has resigned, so we have one that is not with us. Just to make sure, John Dixon is absent, Phil Anderson resigned, and Bill Fletcher has resigned. We will probably need to address the vice chair at the end of the meeting, try to get through the meeting. Everyone understands that this board has to have 4 votes to approve. It's not a majority, so everyone that's here tonight has to agree that you got to be persuasive enough that all 4 of us will vote for it. You have a right to postpone that if you want to postpone it, but y'all give it some thought, and as you come up, you can address it, or we will address it. We do appreciate Karen and her hard work that she does for this board, and our legal counsel, Mr. Dykes, Matt Carpenter, for the issues that he calls. We appreciate it, so we have something to do on these nights. Right, Matt?
Right.
Are there any announcements that need to be made at this time?
Yes, sir. We have several requests for continuance. Would you like to address those? And we also have to reschedule the November 12th meeting because we've scheduled that on Veterans Day holiday. And we have one item that may need to be continued to a new November date.
What you want to address first?
Why don't we do the meeting date?
Okay. You're talking about November the 12th will be rescheduled to what date?
I think we're recommending November 19th, which is the following Monday.
It's on a Monday, not a
Or
Wednesday.
Tuesday?
The 19th is a Monday.
Monday. The 12th is on a Monday.
And November 19th is on a Monday.
Yes, sir. Would that work for the board?
Jeff,
Works for me.
Charlie, you want
Probably soon.
to make a motion?
Yes, sir.
Second?
Second.
You made it?
I make a motion that we move the meeting to November 19th.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Very
Thanks,
good.
sir. We have several requests to continuance, if you'd like to address those one at a time.
You wanna do one at a time, or you wanna do them all at one time? Hayward, how you wanna do this?
It's up to the board. I mean, we can go,
Let's do them all at one time.
as a slate.
Item number 1, the Perry variance, we have a request to continue to October 25.
Item one,
Item number 3, we are requesting that to be continued to October 25 also, and that very well may need to be continued to November 19th to satisfy a notice requirement in the neighborhood plan that relates to this particular project. But the request today would be October 25. And number 6, the Karen and William Morris variance, they've requested that to continue to October 25. And the Walton County TDC has requested number 7, the Miramar Amalfi Regional Beach Access request to be continued to October 25 at 5 p.m. at the South Walton Annex.
so we have items number 1, items number 3, item number 6, and item number 7 to be
Yes, sir.
postponed to the October 25th, 2018 meeting, correct?
Yes, sir, at 5 p.m. at the South Walton Annex.
Motion,
I make a motion,
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we continue items 1, 3, 6, and 7 to the October 25th, 2018 meeting.
second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So the only ones we're gonna, hear tonight is gonna be number 2, 4,
Fine.
and 5.
Yes, sir. Number 2, the Geronimo Communications Tower Replacement Variance has been reviewed by Renee Bradley, and I'll ask her to briefly introduce that one for us.
And I'll go ahead and, I'll need to swear in, those individuals who plan to.
Yeah, we gotta
speak.
do the swearing in, Mac, you got ahead of us. We're not ready to start.
So, this is for the public as well, anybody here. All those who plan to speak, whether it be on, item number 2, item number 4, or item number 5, if you'll please stand, raise your right hand. Do you all swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
All right, and anybody who didn't stand, if at some point you decide you wish to testify, please acknowledge that and we'll swear you in at the podium.
Ms. Renee, today is a special occasion for you to be with us. We welcome you. It's been a while.
Thank you, glad to be here. This is Geronimo Cell Tower, variance for setbacks from tall structures. It's 5.0709 in our Land Development Code. The petitioner is requesting a variance from Walton County Land Development Code 5.0709, tall structures number 2. All new commercial towers shall be located a minimum distance of the tower height from all property lines, except where residential development on the adjacent property is prohibited for any reason. In this case, setbacks will adhere to 5.00034, which is our commercial setbacks. The petitioner is requesting replace an existing 90-foot cellular tower with a 180-foot monopole on the site with the following setbacks: 58 feet 6 inches on the front, 29 feet 5 inches on the side. That would be the south side. The north side is 120 feet and 5 inches, and the rear is 240 feet. So basically, the only setback that's meeting the requirements of our code is the rear setback at this time. And you can see the numbers in your staff report that we're negative. Staff is not objecting to this change based on the existing land uses of the property surrounding the property. It doesn't appear that unless we had some really major redevelopment in that area that we would ever have any residential development. That's all staff has for you at this time. I'd be glad to answer any questions for the board.
Let's listen to the petitioner, then we'll let you come back, okay?
Thank
Enter
you.
staff report.
Oh, and may I enter the staff report to the record, please?
You wanna do it now? Sure.
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Who's here to represent Mr. Matthews?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. My name is Dana Matthews. I'm a lawyer in South Walton, and I'm representing Gulf Power and Southern Link Communications, wholly owned subsidiary of Gulf Power in this application. I want to introduce to you Juliet Milam from, if you stand, Juliet, from Gulf Power, Ronnie Tibbs, Southern Link, Clay Brogdon, project engineer for the project. Buddy Robinson, Value Concepts is the contractor for the project, and then Major Rao for the Sheriff's Department.
Before you get too far along, I just like to know, are there anyone here that oppose this, this variance? Anyone here in opposition? Because it appears that Mr. Matthews brought everybody with him in the audience, so that's good.
Just wanted to be careful.
Absolutely. Go ahead now. I don't think we have any opposition. Go ahead.
I will briefly, you have the
We've got the
exhibit?
packet. You'll
Okay.
have this as-
We'll make that applicant's composite exhibit A. You should have had all the, everything in this exhibit, you should have had in your reports, your packages, but I brought them just in case. And if I may briefly, Mr. Chairman, go through the package with you and explain to you why we're here and let you hear from our witnesses. The first thing I want to tell you is but for this property being in a coastal zone, a future land use map, we wouldn't be here tonight. Because that's the only reason why that we've had to seek a variance is because the county code, if you are in a future land use map that even allows residential, even though there's no residential in this area, you have to provide a fall zone. Your pole, if you will, your tower has to be able to fall within your property. This is clearly, from the maps that I've shown you, I think, this is clearly an industrial area. Staff report, Ms. Bradley does a good job of laying it out. This is an industrial area. It's always been an industrial area. But for whatever reason, when the county adopted the future land use map for this area, had it coastal center, and therefore residential is allowed, even though there's no residential in it. The closest residential properties to the site is 350 feet, and you'll see a house there kind of to the southwest. That property is 400 feet from where the pole is, so obviously it exceeds 180 feet, but it's not within our property. That's why we had to request the variance. Ms. Bradley is correct. The chances of this property being rezoned or developing into residential is slim to none. Gulf Power's own this particular, you'll see the large section of property that Gulf Power, this is their substation for South Walton in that area. They do have an existing pole. It's been there for I don't know, I think we've gone back records almost 25 years. Nobody can find the original development order when it was originally approved by the county, but through the different records we've seen, it's been there over 25 years. It's 90 feet tall. It's never fallen, never broken. However, it's old. And with the new communication and technology that's developed over the years and the ability to increase coverage for our area, which is in dire need in the Miramar Beach area, and I'm primarily talking about from Sandestin west to probably around the Palms, Walmart area right there. You've got some maps in front of you that shows you coverage today, and the best thing to tell you is green is bad, red is good. So if you look at the map has the green in the Miramar Beach area, that's what your coverage is today. If any of y'all have ever driven on Emerald Coast Parkway or Old 98 during the summertime or our busy tourist season and have had your cell phone drop, you'll know what I'm talking about. But with the new technology, with this new pole and the new system that they're going to put in, this is an analysis that's been done to show what the coverage will increase to. We didn't file this application willy-nilly. It's been worked on for about 6 months now. Southern Link and Gulf has known that they've needed to provide better coverage in our area. And Southern Link has contracts with Walton County, with the Walton County IT, with the Walton County School District. We're actually contracted with Southern Link to provide their service today. So we went to all these different, not only their customers, but we went to all the emergency responders because we wanted to make sure that if, and we've offered to provide space on the tower to them without charge, that would this be something that they would be in support of. And you're going to see in your packages that we've got letters from Sheriff Michael Atkinson on behalf of the Walton County Sheriff's Department, You're gonna see it from the Assistant South Walton Fire Chief for South Walton Fire Department, who's in support of this. You've got a letter from the Walton County School Board that is in support of this application. You've got letters from the Walton County itself, their IT department, who's a customer and why in support of it. And we don't have a letter, but South Walton Utilities, which is the closest, it's one of our adjacent properties. If you look on your map, they're southerly adjacent. That's the only property that could potentially, if there was an issue with the tower, and I'm gonna get to structural and stuff in a minute, would be impacted. And Alicia over there and their board met the other day, and they're fully in support of the project. They did not have time to get me a letter for you, apologize. We also met with the FAA to make sure that there was no problems with navigational problems, and you'll see a letter in there from the FAA that details that this is not an issue with them. So again, we're back to that we filed for, by the way, and I think you may not know this, but to have a variance is one of the processes, but this is not the end-all, be-all. We've had to file an application with the county for a development order for this project, and it's what they call conditional use, and it's scheduled for TRC on October 3rd, and then it would, assuming it goes past that, it'll go to the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners for final approval. Obviously, we can't meet the legal test to come forward with it in front of the Planning Commission and the board unless we get a variance, because the county code does not allow it because of the issue of residential potentially being in a coastal center. Again, that's circling all the way back. That's why we're here before you today. What I'd like to do is to have Clay Brogdon, briefly speak to you. He's the project engineer. He can walk, you have your site plans there. He's also going to talk to you. You'll see a letter that we've gotten from the structural engineer that designed this pole, and he can talk to you about the new technology and why poles don't fall over like they used to in the old days.
Good evening, my name's Clay Brogdon. I'm the manager of engineering and construction for Southern Link. And I'm just gonna take a minute of your time. I'm not gonna be long-winded, but as Dana mentioned, there's an old monopole in that substation that has some equipment on it. It's been there for 20 or 25 years. And it's old technology. It has survived everything that's blown through here in that length of time. We want to replace it with a taller pole, but also one that is up to all of the current design codes that govern when we can put a monopole in. Governs wind speed. It's an American National Standards Institute code that we have to follow. It's done county by county, where it tells you the design wind speed you have to design to, safety factors involved with this. So,
do you know what that design wind speed is?
yeah, it's in this letter that's on Sabre Industries letterhead paper that's in your package. It's I'll read from just right off the top there. We propose to design and supply the above referenced Sabre monopole for a basic wind speed of 108 miles per hour, 140 mile per hour ultimate with no ice, and then it gives the structure, the exposure, the class, and the code is referenced there. And in addition to that, it's designed 25% over that is the design for it. And so, you know, these things are designed not to fall. Sometimes people will come in here and say, well, it's designed to fall within this much of a radius. No, these things are designed not to fall, and will only fall in the event of a catastrophic wind event. And I'm not talking about hurricanes. I'm talking about really tornadoes. If a tornado comes over something, all bets are off. Nobody can design anything to tornado wind speeds. But this pole will be designed to all of the current standards that we have to follow. And I think, you know, from that standpoint, it'll be better than the one that's in there and has been in there for years. So unless you've got questions, that's all I was going to say about that.
I was going to say that it seems to be within that coastal debris region, and you have life safety professionals that are signing off on the pole as a reason for its justification, and there would be higher standards for the ultimate wind speed for facilities and utilities that are servicing emergency personnel. I'm wondering why those higher wind speeds wouldn't apply to this structure?
I don't know, I'm not familiar with that. All I'm familiar with is the ANSI code, which says in Walton County, this is what you have to design to. And so that's, that's what we look to as our standard of guidance when we design these things. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
Like schools would be designed to a higher level than houses, and then there would be, fire stations would probably fall under the highest level of design wind speed, which would be close to 180, I believe. So it just seemed extremely low for something that's 180 feet tall. And in all the pictures that you're showing, that structure is gonna be double what you're seeing in the photographs. So if people can sort of project that structure up another 90 feet.
Yeah, but the foundation is also gonna be much greater as well.
Hold on, if I may, Mr. Chick, the photosystems that you saw was as if it was at 180 feet, not the existing 90 feet. Those are projection photosystems at 180 feet for the different locations.
Those are
If
not,
that's what you're
they're not
referencing.
photos of the existing tower?
No. Pardon me? Not the existing tower, no, sir. They're designed on the CAD to show what it would look like from those locations if it was built.
Okay, that's good.
There was also a picture in your package which shows the exact pole, not on this site, it's not there yet, but this is the 180-foot pole that,
Those are simulations that were done.
this is not a simulation.
Yeah, we got it.
This is the actual, what it would look like.
Oh, that's of another one that looks like that. Okay, I got you.
Explain the collapse of how the tower is designed to collapse
Yeah,
within itself.
The failure mechanism on these monopoles is such that they are designed at a certain level down from the top with a weaker section in there, such that when the wind blows on it to this catastrophic event, it will buckle and it will come over like this. It doesn't shear off and fall off, but it will just literally just buckle over, and you'll see it just kind of wilt over, but not come off the base of the pole itself, the shaft of the pole. It's not designed to shear off and come off. It's just designed to flop over, basically.
Is it just one design area designed to do that, or are there layers? Are there
Well,
different?
Yeah, there's just one spot on the pole that is designed as the weak spot. This pole is being designed with what's called a 50-foot fall radius, such that it would, in essence, impact no more than 50 feet from the radius from the base of the pole. But it costs a lot more to do that than a normal monopole, which would, have a larger radius, if you will, of design. So, but that's the mechanism for how these things are designed to fail in a catastrophic wind event.
The 108, Jeff, go ahead, I don't mean to cut you off.
I think I've gotten the answers from you that I need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The 108 mile an hour wind speed, that is, you say that's a minimum, but it could withstand up to 140?
Correct. That's what the design memo here is saying, and they've taken this out of the code. The design basic wind speed is like 108 miles per hour constant, with gusts up to 140 mile per hour ultimate, and then 25% factor of safety above that.
So how much would that be, 25% of 140?
25 to 175.
How much?
About 130 to 175. 130 constant, 175 wind speed.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Matthews?
Yes, Mr. Tibbs?
Who's he with?
Southern Link.
I thought Southern Link went out of business.
Hey,
You
good
only do,
evening.
beep phones.
Yeah, they went out, right?
Good evening. My name is Ronnie Tibbs. I'm the account manager for Southern Link Wireless here in Walton County. And we currently service Walton County Board of County Commissioners, Walton County Schools, Walton County Sheriff's Office, and Chelco. Those are all several of our larger accounts here. All of those use Southern Link Wireless as the backbone of their communications here in the county. And incidentally, Walton County is actually our largest customer in Florida, currently using Southern Link.
Wow.
So we could really use the tower. I think it would really improve communications, especially for those accounts.
Don't you think this tower is designed to, when there's a storm, that y'all will have communications so Gov Power will be able to go do their work? Because they use Southern Link also, right?
Correct, so that's kind of what we hang our hat on.
So kind of without it, you don't have the communications, or it'd restrict your communications area without this tower?
Without this tower, it would restrict our communications, correct?
And you service all of South Walden and Okaloosa County.
We service all the counties throughout the Panhandle of Florida, all the way to Bay County.
So basically, if you don't get the tower and the people don't get their electricity on during a storm, they can blame this board. Is that what you're saying?
That's for them to decide, not for me.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You can tell these people in the sheriff department, they dress up like lawyers. They must make as much money as y'all do.
No, sir, we do not. Trust me,
I
I know
was gonna
better.
say, he asked me, "Should I dress like you?" I said, "No, you probably wear a suit."
Yeah. Thank you again. My name is Audie Rowell. I'm the Director of Emergency Services for the Walton County Sheriff's Office.
That's a
For-
compliment.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Gulf Power and Southern Link for including us in this project. And for having the foresight to even consider public safety in this. It's so important for us, communication. To be honest with you, when everything closed down and everything stops, we can't stop. But there's two very important functions that we have to do no matter what's going on. Number one is patrol, boots on the ground, people in the field. Number two is communication. We have to have that communication. And so, what we see here is this is a vision for where we need to be at, not just today, but in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And spots on towers are premium property. And so we need this communication now and even in the future for anything from hurricanes to school activities, school shootings, whatever that may be. We need to make sure that we have the technology in place that allows us to communicate. Technology changes every, 12 to 18 months, and it seems to be getting shorter and shorter. So we don't know where we're going to be with voice communication. We don't know where we're going to be with data communication. Miramar Beach is a very dense area, and so a lot of activity with communication goes on in that area. And spots in that area may become problematic for us in the future. But having the ability to have space on a tower is so important. Just back in 2010, 2011, we upgraded our communications, radio communications, and we had to build 3 towers throughout the county. Each one of those towers cost us about $2.2 million. Again, being able to put something on this tower when we need it, whether it be for voice communication, whether it be to transfer data, is extremely important for us. So we absolutely support this. And again, I thank them for taking public safety, not just the sheriff's office, but public safety as a whole, that if we can utilize this, that you would be able to utilize this. So again, I think this is a great thing for Walton County, and I think this is a great thing for public safety. Any questions?
When you start speaking about schools, how far is it from the school?
Your closest school, I believe, is Van Butler, is probably the closest school.
Unless you're on Okaloosa side, then you're the middle school over there by the bridge.
But,
And by the way, this service increases coverage for not just Walton, but for Okaloosa County as well on that eastern side by the Mid-Bay Bridge where the middle school's at.
Well, that would be a big plus to make sure that you got the communications in case something was to happen at Van Butler.
Absolutely. Having that communication with the school system in the event of an active shooter, suspicious incident, whatever it may be, suspicious package that we've got to get information out. But yes, again, being able to have that communication and be able to improve our technology in that area when we need to. Again, 5-10 years from now, what do we need? What will we need? We have to have some vision, to some foresight, because again, we don't know what technology is going to be in 10 or 15 years. But being able to have that space on that tower could be very vital for us.
But the thing about it is, when you start talking about like a school shooting, you're talking about minutes makes a difference.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have clear communications, then that's a problem for the sheriff department. And
That's
why
correct.
y'all had to spend the $2 million on the towers to make sure.
And,
In the
and not
north
only,
end, I believe, most of
correct,
it.
and not only communication with, amongst us, but to be able to communicate with the other entities, whether it be the school system, South Walton Fire, the different entities. We gotta have that interoperability to be able to communicate.
Is Southern Link a line of sight type of a cellular system?
Yes, it's line of sight, and when you've got buildings and things in between, it really distorts signal, so it
Okay.
certainly operates best at line of sight.
Excellent.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, briefly, just a couple other points. As I probably was remiss in not mentioning about the situs location, not just because this is an industrial zone, not just because there's already a 90-foot tower that's been used for a long time on Gulf Power's substation, but and I told you this has been worked on for a long time, there were alternative sites looked at. As y'all know, Miramar Beach is one of the most expensive, other than the east end of 30A, areas for property in Walton County, but it's also very dense. And when I say dense, I mean dense in terms of whether it be single-family residents or short-term rental people and the very businesses around there. If you notice that you've got, I don't think it's in your, it's kind of hard to read, but within a mile of there is the Aerial Dunes 1 and Aerial Dunes 2. Those are two 24-story condominium buildings totaling approximately 450 units between the two. You got a 14-story condo next to that. You got another 12-story next to that. You got surf dwellers there. And to answer the question about line of sight, you have a problem in Miramar Beach because of those tall structures. And you're going to have more tall structures in Seascape because it's a DRI and there is no height limitation as there are in the rest part of the county. So the 90-foot tower doesn't, even though it's old, doesn't even handle what needs to be done. So that's why they had to go as high as they did, to be able to make sure that there was increased coverage that went all four directions. That's number one. Number two, that as y'all know over the years, as technology progresses, and I happen to represent the Sheriff's Department, and so I've worked with them on their new communication programs that they've had and different software they bought, these towers that they built to the tune of $2.2 million each with taxpayers' money. Now they don't have to spend that kind of money on this tower because it's being given them the right to use the space. But there's been through all our emergency responders, as you know, the Sheriff's Department took over, North End on the fire department, fire districts up there. The goal is to integrate communication as seamlessly and quickly as possible. And this kind of technology on this kind of height and this dense of an area is really important from a safety standpoint and for our emergency responders to be able to do their job. And I think the public also expects them to be able to use state-of-the-art. Finally, I want to make sure, Mr. Chick, that we've answered appropriately your question. This 50-foot, call it the break point, whatever you want to call it, but from the top of the tower, again, it's not designed to shear off, as Mr. Brogdon said, but even if it fell down, the closest place that any of this 50-foot would go would be the South Walton Utilities building. All around this property, there is nothing that would it would fall on. It would fall in the parking lot or, God forbid, even on their building. But SWU, our neighbor, is in support of this project. So if y'all have any questions at all, if we have not convinced all four of you that this is a good thing, then I would ask you to tell us what other additional information that we could bring to you and have it tabled to another meeting. But I'm hoping that we've been able to answer your questions and to show and demonstrate to you that not only do we meet the six-pronged test, if you will, for a variance as outlined very well by Ms. Bradley, thank you, in her staff report, but also the safety issues and the reason why this is important to the community. Answer any questions you may have.
I'm gonna go ahead and, because I think we owe it for the safety aspect of this county. I feel comfortable with it. You good with it? Because if not, then we need to give them a fair opportunity to come back.
I don't think you could pick a better site for something like this to go. I'm very familiar with that neighborhood, and it's very compatible with what's going on over there, and the density that we have over there. It's seems like you need more infrastructure to handle that, so.
Good deal. Y'all good with it?
I am. I also believe that a true hardship exists.
Well,
for-
let's not get into discussion. I just don't want to, you know, because of the public safety aspect of this, I didn't want to get, because there's four of us, to the end of it and then run into problems. And, you know, I'm doing what I think we need to do, so if you good with it, we'll continue, then we'll get into the other meeting. You good?
Fine.
County, where did Renee go? Renee, you awake? Do you have anything to add?
No, sir. I'm definitely fine with this one. I mean, the area with the land uses that are existing out there, I don't see a better location in that area for a cell tower.
I don't think very many of you have had the opportunity to have Ms. Renee at the meeting, but I can assure you, if she had an issue with it, you would know it. She was calm, she relaxed, and she's happy. So it's a blessing to have her here, and it's a good way to see her. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public has anything else to add? Mr. Matthews, I think you've done an outstanding job.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to close the public discussion.
Motion to close public discussion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve. Now, we're gonna say that motion to approve as required on page 1 of 4. I think we need to specify the front setback as being a 121.6 reduction, north side 59.7 reduction, and the south side 150.7 reduction. But we,
Not 0.7, 7 inches.
that's why you're gonna make the motion.
I think Daryl would be the better person as the surveyor of the crew.
Well, okay, I'm more than happy to make a motion for approval, adhering to the setbacks requested on page 1 of 4, being the front, a reduction of 121 feet 6 inches, on the north side, a reduction of 59 feet 7 inches, and on the south boundary, a reduction of 100 feet 7 inches.
It's 150.
Well, I'm sorry, 150 feet 7 inches.
We have a motion, have a second.
Yeah, that's the correct.
Second.
Yes.
Discussion?
Well, and just for the record, I do believe a hardship exists by virtue in the past 20 years of what literally grew up around it. And secondly, the design parameter, the requirement that the setbacks be equal to the height, I believe is also somewhat obsolete. That the design, as I believe has been demonstrated, can be met to reduce the area of fall and that meet the wind load. So in that respect, I do believe there's hardship for more than one reason.
I agree. Artie?
I agree with what he said.
Jim?
I just wanted to mention that it's very seldom that there is a project that there's nobody in the audience opposing the project, and so I'd like to say that that's stunning.
It is. That's absolutely. That's why I was surprised he brought everybody with him. He done good, didn't he?
He knew that he was expecting a fight, but nobody showed up.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews, Mr. Dykes. That's the way you want us to do our motion now? Go back to the old way?
I like it.
I do
A lot
too.
better.
I agree.
Calling each one of y'all
The
out.
problem is the attorneys keep giving us different advice. We're glad you made that change. The next item on the agenda, which one is it? Number 4,
We're at the, number 4, determine.
Clinton and Christie Curry. Who's here for item number 4?
Correct, yes. Correct, yeah, so we're on that 10-foot landscape buffer. The cantilevers are actually on these 3 sides. It's, the building footprint is right on the landscape buffer.
We don't have item number 4. We're just gonna, we're gonna skip down.
Yes, sir. We were clarifying something with the applicant. This is the Clinton and Christie Curry variance. It's been reviewed by, the requesting final order has been reviewed by Vivian Shamel, and she'll briefly introduce this one.
Let's hear them first. I'd rather hear the plaintiff.
Okay.
or the applicant?
Okay.
State your name for the record, please.
My name is Clinton Brent Curry.
Tell us why you're here, what you
Okay,
want.
so we are hoping to build a single-family residence on Mary Way in the village at Blue Mountain Beach development. And the lot is encumbered. It's a very small lot, and we are applying for a cantilever variance, which has been approved for several other lots in that same development, for 18 inches on 3 sides of the structure. That would be the front elevation, the rear elevation, and the right elevation. On the left-hand side is a landscape buffer, which is an additional encumbrance on this particular lot. Typically, we'd have 7.5 feet, but we're at 10 feet on the side setback on that side of the lot.
Say that again?
So on this particular lot, it backs up to an adjoining development, Ventana Drive, I believe is the name of the road, but instead of the standard 7.5-foot side setback, we actually have a 10-foot side setback on that particular side, which again makes the lot, or the buildable area for this particular lot, even smaller than what would be typical in the neighborhood.
Could I ask why the buildable footprint of the house shows that it's not extending to the 15-foot rear setback line? Or is that noted incorrectly?
That, yeah, apparently has been drawn incorrectly by the surveyor.
Okay.
We just noticed the same thing. It's actually, that appears to be drawn at 10 feet and not at 15. I apologize for that.
I'll say that again. I guess I'm hard of hearing or not understanding exactly. Are you talking about,
This is called out as the 15-foot setback line. It's actually at 10. So they have.
So we gotta make sure that we don't assume that they're asking for this. Tell me exactly what you're asking for.
Okay, so we are requesting a variance to build 18 inches into the, I guess what would be the south setback line, and then
Okay,
also the east and west setback
Let me
line.
find the south. Is the south the rear?
Yeah, it would be the side that's adjacent to Lot 2.
So you asking for 18 inches on each side, right?
Correct, yes, sir. Other than the side that is adjacent to Lot 14 in Ventana Dunes, that's again, that is a 10-foot landscape buffer which we cannot encroach into and cannot apply for a variance from what we've been told.
So you asking it for on the south side
And the east and west side.
and the east and west? The east, the front is the
Would be the west side.
west side. $18 inches.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
I would like to clarify, that would be for the second story and or above.
Correct, yeah, it's a second and third story, yeah, so I believe the requirement was above 8 feet.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Let us listen to what the county has to say, and we'll give you a chance to come back.
Okay.
Ms. Vivian?
I'm sorry, yeah, she had just mentioned there was also a request for a stoop variance to be able to get the steps from the front door of the house into the front setback. There was a 20-foot front setback. I apologize.
You asking for what else?
It's a two-part variance. Actually, the request pretty well explains it. They're asking for the cantilever to be extension of the 18 inches into the setback for the cantilever decks. So, and roof, it's not the whole thing, it's just the cantilever, not the first floor. So, to create more habitable space. And the second part is for the front porch stoop and stairs to encroach 5 foot 8 inches into the 20-foot front setback. Once again, due to the constricted size of the lot.
All the way across, or just a particular area?
Yeah, it's just a 4-foot wide stoop coming off the front door. It's just a landing at the front door.
Do you have architectural plans for the house yet?
We do, yes, sir. Would you like to see a copy?
Have those been approved by the association?
Yes, we have a letter from the association, which was
Would we have the ability to get a copy of those?
Sure.
Or does staff have a copy of those that we can get?
Yes.
I don't think there's any, there's not in the packet, is there? The staff report.
Sure. Sure, Vivian, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Can you email it?
Yes, actually, I've uploaded it to the county site.
Would that be sufficient for you?
Well, yeah, just in case, obviously, so we have a complete record.
We need it for a final order. You will not get a final order until we have it. How about that?
Okay.
I can go take a look at it on the, our
Please.
citizen serve.
Please do.
We have gone to where they submit
else wants to
everything
I tell you
online.
what, why don't we do this? Why don't we move along? And, when we get through, are you gonna handle the next one that's coming up, or can you go make a copy? We might take a little break, okay?
Oh, okay, well, yes, I'll have the next one.
Okay, let's go, you wanna do that as long as we get it?
Yeah, that's fine, as long as we have them tonight, so we.
Let
can
me ask you
make sure
something, can we have this one?
Of course, yeah, I have 4 sets, so I can bring
Good.
some more up if you'd like.
We got that settled. We're gonna enter it into evidence,
Yes, sir. I would, just enter that as applicant's exhibit A.
so enter, go ahead, Vivian.
I have nothing else to say, except for that this is a very constricted lot, and there have been, others of very similar size, that have received the same approval. It has been, the HOA has liked the looks of the way they, are finished with the cantilevers, and it gives them a little extra added interest to the house and the architecture, so they have been supporting these particular kinds of requests. This lot is actually a little more constricted than even the other constricted lots that are there.
Any questions? Thank you. Anyone from the audience has anything to say? Anybody here against it?
Oh, Vivian, did you want to put in the staff report?
Yes,
Send it
I'd
back
like
up.
to put the staff report into evidence.
So entered.
And then, Mr. Chairman, you did have up on the dais one, I believe, letter of objection.
You want to read it in the record?
I can, or we can just put it in the records.
Do one of them, I hear nays down.
Yeah, just. we
There
have the
is one letter of objection that came in and didn't make it into your books, so we provided a copy of it for you tonight. It is from the neighboring community.
Is
Neighbor.
this person that wrote the letter, are they immediately impacted by the variance?
It's within South Walden, so they're immediately impacted.
As far as I know, they're within the 300-foot radius.
Right, but it's not the immediately adjacent property.
Yeah,
owner
honestly,
or
I
anything.
received this just, right before we started,
Yeah.
so I'm not really.
We got this just this afternoon, so,
Okay,
oh, and there's no request on that side of the property.
So
as Matt
entered.
said.
thank you very much. You have anything else to add?
No, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
You got to be good.
Okay.
Okay, motion to close it.
Motion to close the discussion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We're good. You're lucky. You're good. Thank you. You done a good job. What's the next one on the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, that would be number 5, the Water Sound Company, variance, request to approve by final order, and I think the applicant is here to present his case.
Item number 5.
Daryl, did you vote no or yes on that one?
No, they voted, I haven't
Voted
voted
aye.
yet.
He voted aye. He would have said nay if, I should say nay.
We don't have to pick it up.
Hey, my name is Chandler
I'm sorry,
Huff with
sir,
Huff
one
Development.
second. Mr. Burgess, had an announcement.
I did want to,
Or
I
disclosure.
expressed a bit of a concern. I spoke with Mr. Dykes earlier this morning about a possible conflict of interest. I do not believe it exists. I will disclose that our company did do the surveying on this particular project, but I'm one of 3 licensed surveyors in our office. I did not have any personal involvement with this project. We did not lay out the foundation, so we don't have any activity or involvement in that aspect of this particular application. And I do feel very comfortable that I can remain unbiased and objective in my evaluation.
And I did
Mike?
speak to Mr. Burgess, and he indicated there was, no special gain or loss that he would receive as it relates to his, position on this board, so.
Either personally or to our company.
Are you good with it?
Yes, sir.
You good with him sitting on here?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good enough for me. Let's go ahead.
Chandler Huff with Huff Development LLC. And first thing, I just probably have to apologize to you guys because this is the first time I've been in front of the board in 25 years and probably over 1,000 houses. But this particular situation on a lot that should have been probably an easy layout got complicated for 2 reasons. The first one was that, and St. Joe's here, representing St. Joe on the variance. The developer put out monuments dictating what side the lot is, and so whenever the surveyors had put the pins in, we can't really determine which was there first, whether the pin was there first or the people who installed the monument signs dictate which lots pointed which way, which ones pointed the other way. But needless to say, the pin got relocated. So when my layout guys laid the house out and they pulled off the front pin, you can kind of see from the survey, the house kind of got tilted to one side. And it's, you know, it's a variance, and I need to make a correction. I think our request was for 8, but the variance that y'all have on your paper, I think only says 6.
Your request is for 8 inch?
Yeah, it was an 8-inch variance. I think the might be a typo on this variance, because I think this says 6.
It does say 6, but
Yeah.
8.
Yeah. The actual variance request that we had requested was for an 8-inch rear setback variance on that far right-hand rear property line where the house is sitting over. And the way this works is, you know, we get a house frame or get it laid out, get the slab poured, you know, calling over the foundation survey, and usually within a week and a half, 2 weeks, we'll get the foundation survey that we get and we submit to the county per the permitting process. And so as soon as I got this, you know, I notified contractors on the site, and of course I notified ECA of this issue, and so that's how we came to here. So it was the adjoining property that to the rear of this property is St. Joe's. It's a common area, so there's no encroachment onto an adjacent lot or another homeowner, which we own all the lots around it other than the common area that St. Joe owns. So in the past, in neighborhoods in St. Joe that didn't have setbacks actually shown on the plat, St. Joe was able to issue variances within their own writing. So this neighborhood actually has the plat lines located on the plat. So the setbacks lines are located on the plat. So that's why we're having to come in front of the variance board to get a variance for the rear setback.
Can't you just slide the whole foundation forward towards the street? You'd have a problem in the front.
It'd take a big piece of equipment for that one.
Any questions? Let's see what Vivian has to say.
Do you want me to come up here? So
Yes, ma'am.
Staff has no objections to this request. There are times when mistakes happen and create a hardship.
That's
So
all you
staff-
have to say.
That's all I have to say.
That's
Enter the
enough.
staff report.
Thank you. Enter the staff report.
Enter the staff report, please.
So entered. You want to make him talk?
Nope.
You sure?
Well, I'm not listening.
Is he being paid to be here? If he is, we'll make him earn his money.
He is not.
volunteered.
Anybody has any questions, anything? Thank you, sir.
Would he be opposed to it being tied to the survey?
We're going to. I mean, you can ask him, I mean, we ain't closed it yet.
Would
Yes,
you be
sir.
opposed to your variance being tied to this survey?
As
Sure,
presented.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
As presented, right?
As presented.
Motion to close the public
Well, 8
discussion.
inches instead of 6, he said.
Motion to close the public discussion.
Motion to close public discussion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve as presented.
Correction, 8 inches.
I'm sorry. Correct.
It's actually 8.4 if you're gonna get technical.
9 inches.
You can do it as, I don't know if Charlie was gonna do it, add, as we've done in the past, make it
Survey.
consistent with the survey, we'll add that as an attachment to the order as well, so.
Should we do that?
Yes. Motion.
Would you like to?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
I make a
ahead.
motion that we approve the variance, as outlined in the survey to reduce the rear setback by 7/10 of a foot.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? You got your variance.
Thank you, sir.
Man, we
Appreciate it,
done
Lord.
good tonight. We're 4 to 4. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Is that it?
That's it.
We need to elect a vice chairperson.
We can either do that now, or you can wait till there's a full, you get, but I mean, in the interim, if Mr. Johnson's out, we'll need to have somebody fill in. And I think we do that at the beginning of each year, right? Yeah, so you only have a few months, so I mean, whoever's vice chair.
Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't.
We're
Sometimes we
supposed to do it at the beginning of the year.
We could railroad the guy who's not here.
That is a way to do it, to make sure you show up.
Y'all want to elect it? That's up to the board.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have enough experience on this board to serve in your absence, so I would not want that responsibility.
And I'm even younger at it than he is.
Charlie?
I was not really wanting to do it either. At least Mr. Dixon.
I will help whoever does it. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do we get a copy of Robert's rules for that?
We don't necessarily follow Robert's rules, it's quasi judicial, so, I mean, we generally
One
do.
thing you don't do is listen to the lawyer.
Right.
That's the first thing you don't do. You listen to his bias, but you don't listen to him. Do y'all want to do it, or you want, I mean, the problem, I'm gonna just be straight and honest with you, that, I like Mr. Dixon, but, you know, we need people that's gonna be here, I try to be here. I mean, I guess if y'all wanna wait till he's here, I have no problem with it. I'd be glad to call him and talk to him, but, I would try to let him know when I'm not here.
Well, and quite honestly, I would not have a problem being vice chair.
Sound like a motion to me,
I
Charlie.
make a motion that Mr. Burgess be vice chair.
I'll second that.
And you can vote on this too.
I get to vote?
Yeah, you get to vote.
But you're not gonna let him,
Doesn't it have to be
you're not gonna let
unanimous
him run
since
the
there's only
meeting,
4 of
right?
us?
No, that's just because you are dealing with the LDC.
You're not, you
That's the
promise,
LDC
raise your right hand.
requirement, The board.
We have a motion and a second to have Mr. Burgess as vice chair. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. Thank you for stepping up. We got that covered. Motion, minutes. Motion to approve the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to
These
approve. the
minutes are pretty ancient.
Second.
Yeah, they were.
From May?
That sounds like a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
You can
Opposed?
get with Karen on that.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, wait, I finally have an update on one of our appeals.
You didn't do announcements when I asked you to. You
Well,
can
I
wait
did
till
the-
next time. No, you're out of order.
Okay. that's
No,
fine.
no. Go ahead.
Here's a hard copy if you want, I can email. The,
Is it good?
Sanctuary by the Sea, or, what is it, Sanctuary?
Is it good or bad?
It's good, I wouldn't have brought it up if it was bad.
Sanctuary by the Sea.
Yeah,
I know
Sanctuary by the Sea,
Sanctuary.
that was the one, you may recall, I don't know that it was the current board, I think we had some other board members on
Right.
at the time, but that was the one where they wanted to do some clearing around
The
the
lake.
Dune Lake,
Yeah.
and the board denied. It ended up being a 3-1, 3 to approve, 1 to deny the request. It was just like tonight, and we only had four board members at the time. There was 1 denial, and they
Tony
appealed that.
did it?
I'm sorry?
Was Tony did it on?
I think it was Tony who was the
Okay, I
denial.
remember that one. They
And,
wanted, like,
and the court upheld the board's decision to deny.
Matt?
Planning Department certainly appreciates the board upholding, or making the decision and it getting upheld on appeal. We have subsequently, created some, procedures in the Land Development Code, that will allow for some cleaning of preservation areas, and reduction in fire load. So, to address the circumstance that came before you asking for a variance.
And as you may recall, and you'll see it addressed in the order, and again, I forward it to the county staff, they can forward it to you, or I can get it to you. The issue was, we didn't have any set guidelines, so they had requested that the board approve a clearing permit, and had suggested we'll get with the county later, and figure out the guidelines, and the county objected to it because we didn't have specific guidelines that we could
Well,
tell
a
them.
clearing permit they could have gone in and just bulldozed everything, right?
That was our concern.
That was the
Right.
concern.
Once it's cleared, it's hard to put it back the way it was before it's cleared. But we have addressed the need to provide some procedure authorizing maintenance in these preservation areas because we've been building them up for 20 years and if no attention is given, then that fire, because there's no fire, that fire load continues to build. And as you recall, 10 years ago, we're allowing people to claim preservation right up to the building footprint. We now restrict that preservation claim to an area outside of the 10-foot buffer around any structure.
So I think that's just an example of, there was a need, we didn't have it in the code. We realized that, and then they
But now
addressed
they
it.
have the ability to go in and take care of that
Yeah.
landscaping.
Right.
So this is all kind of.
Possibly not to the visual degree that they were really asking for.
Okay.
They wanted a view. We're providing a way to maintain the preservation that the county commission has determined would be preserved, and the method to actually do maintenance in that.
Can they go out and top the trees?
Probably not.
And, I
However,
mean,
from the
it-
ground up, we may be able to do so.
Right. And I think they didn't have a set plan, which was the concern for some of the members, or at least, I know Tony
Yeah.
had a concern, there was no devised plan. It was basically, give us a permit, and then we're still working on the plan.
Yeah.
And we, I mean, I believe the staff as well
I don't
as,
think anybody else was
at
here.
least Tony had felt that was a little cart before the horse. So that means like 1 of 5 that we have on appeal. We finally got
Yeah.
one back, so
Good deal.
maybe that means
Yeah.
we'll get some more.
The Judge Wocat.
Yeah. And
Good
it was
deal.
Judge Lewis who had that one, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And what we listened, we heard 2, 3, or 2, 4?
2, 4, or 2, 4, and 5.
2, 4.
All right.
Appreciate everybody coming.
See y'all next month.